So, hello, my name is Chris Velasco.
And I am Aylissa Lopez, and this is our presentation on Peer Deck. So there are many features on Peer Deck. Is that how you say it? Peer Deck or Peer Deck?
It's Pear Deck.
Okay, so we're actually okay. Peer Deck. Excuse me, people. Peer Deck. There are many features like active learning, SEL. You can also add multiple choice questions. You can highlight and draw, and the students can do that as well. There is many interactive opportunities for students to respond on, like short response questions as well. And next slide. So to navigate onto Pear Deck, students would first visit on www.joinpd.com. And then a class code will be provided by the instructor, like on the whiteboard or projector. The students just type that in, and they will be able to see the Pear Deck the teacher will be teaching. And then after that, students click start, or the teacher could provide the link on the class to the class to join. There are some pros and cons for Pear Deck, and one pro is that Google Classroom and Google Drive can be integrated, which makes it easy to transform current slides into Pear Deck presentations. Also, another pro is that students can, really learn content more in depth. So deeper learning happens. The teacher can offer feedback to students. The teacher can also discuss student responses to the classroom. So students are, seeing each other's feedback, thoughts, and just adding to the conversation. Students can, really express their thoughts and understandings. And when students are able to do that, teachers can adapt the lesson if needed based on the teacher's formative assessments, questions, discussions. Another thing that is beneficial for Pear Deck is the teacher can provide real-time feedback. As I mentioned, she could just share it with the class, give direct feedback to the student. But one con though of Pear Deck is that it does not show actually,
I think this would actually be a pro.
okay, that's a pro. Excuse me,
Yeah.
sorry. This is another pro. It does not show students' names. So students, they do not feel exposed or shamed or embarrassed if they're giving, their thoughts and responses, and if the teacher shares them aloud. Reports are created to allow educators to review all of students' work. Another thing is internet is required. So if you do use Pear Deck, please ensure that your students have internet, or really consider where you should use Pear Deck. Just in the classroom, if you want to assign it for homework, really think about that.
Yeah. So if you notice on here, so there's really more pros. So even like me using it myself as a teacher, there's really more pros. The only con I ever saw was that internet was required. So like Alyssa said, be cautious. Like if you send it home as homework, a link, some students may not have that. And so that's the con of it. Like not every student may not have access at home to the Pear Deck.
So this slide discusses the cost and user efficiency. So Pear Deck, it offers free accounts for all users with limited access. But if you do want, premium access, it is $150 a year. And but you could be sure to check with your school district. Sometimes schools and districts, they provide it, or Pear Deck provides a discounted price for educators. So request pricing and information and stuff before signing up for Pear Deck. It is easy access for students with link, as we had mentioned. So yeah, students just enter a code and it's just very easy to use and access.
And then, so some of the classroom uses, and I'm going to actually go through a pair that I can show you guys, is it's really good for in-person teaching option when you're in the classroom teaching it live with students. And again, you also do have the option of asynchronous learning, so sending homework home. Students can work on that, and this was really beneficial even during the pandemic when we did distance learning. Pear Deck was a huge plus for teachers being able to still teach asynchronously and synchronously with students while they were at home. Classroom uses is just that real-time feedback, like it's in the moment. You see a student answer and you're able to actually show the students responses to the whole class. Again, it is anonymous. And so students are able to see other students thinking at the same time, and you're also able to give feedback whole class, or even to a student individually, because as an educator, you can see their names, but the class can't. So you're able to actually go, hey, so what you're thinking on this, or even as a whole class, kind of get redirect them if you feel like maybe there's a kind of a point of confusion. And it's really good for like formative assessments, as like an example would be like an exit ticket at the end, adding in a question, a multiple choice question, or even a short response question to assess the understanding of the class, to see, again, if there were any points of confusion and if there's any opportunity for reteach that you need to address before you move on. And so I'm actually going to move on to and actually show you guys a Pear Deck. And so actually what you saw is an option that students would have. I actually uploaded the link onto here, but this would be the same option students would have. Whether it's Google Classroom or anything, you provide a link, you can attach it to something, and when they click on it, it would send them, as you can see, to the actual Pear Deck. And this would give them the option to sign in with, for the most part, with Google is the easiest. They don't actually have to even create an account. If they sign in with Google, it redirects them automatically. So for example, if I click on my Google account, it would send me now to the Pear Deck link. And this was one of those examples of that SEL that it provides. It actually allows you as a teacher to see this during the presentation and after. Students actually answer this question: how are you feeling today? Just a simple check-in. Students have the option, you know what I mean? Maybe not having such a good day, like I'm okay, or hey, I'm good today. So this allows you as an educator to, even at the end, look into this. You're like, hey, I noticed, oh, one of my students, wow, they marked red. Maybe I could check in with them, say, hey, how are you doing today? Just kind of see how they're doing. In case, you never know if a student needs support. That way you could always redirect them in case they're needing that. So they can pick that. And then after they pick that, it redirects them to. And so the option you're seeing now is actually the option of like an asynchronous Pear Deck, where students can do this on their own. And so this is where a teacher could turn their actual Google Slides into a presentation. So these are actual slides that I have presented into my class. This is actually one of my history lessons. And so here you can see the slides on there. You can add the text to it. And then eventually what you'll see is, here are my guiding questions. And as the students move through, they'll know exactly what slides they need to interact with, because eventually you'll get to a slide. So once I get to it, kind of like this. So this one is actually the example of the drawing feature that Alyssa mentioned earlier, that allows students to actually interact with it. So now they have the option, and my question is, use a graphic organizer to record characteristics of hunter-gatherers. So they could actually read the information, and now if they wanted to add in here, there's options of either adding a text. So if they were to click in here, now they have the option to, add their notes. So they can add notes here. And again, I could show this to my class on my projector and show them how to do this, as well as maybe they need to highlight. There's highlighting features on here. So let's say they need to highlight, they could click a certain color and actually go through and actually highlight important information. Like, hey, maybe this is information that I wanted to include, right? And they can highlight it, pinpoint it. I tell my students the same way, hey, maybe you want this to go over here, and they can actually point it, right? There's a lot of options of doing this. So this is the drawing feature that we mentioned. Again, here's another option. They can add it in. Let me see, there should be right here, and this was a short response option. So now students will know they have to write a response, because if you notice on the bottom, it'll actually have a Pear Deck and tell them what to do. So this one actually says, write your response. So there's a question, and now students can actually able to write their response. So right here, they can write their response. They can write their response in this box. And as a teacher, you see everyone's responses. The students only see theirs. And then you're able to actually project all the students' responses again without names being shown. So here's that short response option. Here's another one. And then here's that multiple choice option, which students now get to choose a response. If you can see mine, it's just about culture. And this in my class, I'd be like, what's the definition of culture? It's pretty easy. They want to make it hard, right? And so then now they're able to actually pick the option and then move on. And so as you notice, when it check marks it, it shows, right, you've answered the prompt for that one. And then as they move on, they continue on. And then here's that example of an exit ticket. Well, now students actually know. So they answer the exit ticket and they're responding to it. And the good thing for this is they can actually go back and access anything that they've interacted with. And then they can move on. Okay, so let me go back and let me add to my exit ticket on there. And so as you can see, a lot of great classroom uses. I think really there's just so many pros of the Pear Deck. It would be definitely a plus for any educator to add to their toolbox, their toolkit, especially when they're during a time right now when it seems like we are doing a shift between distance learning and in-person learning. I'm not sure. Did you want anything else, Alyssa?
We just really recommend Pear Deck, and that concludes our tool review. Thank you so much.